a Carmelite priest asked Sister Lucy, why did Our Lady appear as Our Lady of Mount Carmel holding out the brown scapular? He said it was because Our Lady wants everyone to wear the brown scapular.
You are listening to the Rosary Hour podcast.
You have your rosary, which is your weapon, your sword, but you also need your shield against the wiles and darts of the enemy, which is the devil.
Será livre do fogo eterno. É sinal de salvação, uma defesa nos perigos e penhor da minha especial proteção.
And Our Lady wants to be your protection against the fires of hell and even against the fires of purgatory, because that then brings me up to what you call the Sabbatine Privilege. In 1251, Our Lady gave the scapular to St. Simon Stock. In 1322, back in 2022, was the 700th anniversary of the Sabbatine Privilege. Our Lady appeared to Pope John the 22nd and said, those who wear the scapular faithfully over their shoulders, front and back, observe chastity, meaning chastity, purity, according to their state in life, and neither they pray the little office of the Blessed Virgin Mary or the divine office, which priests and religious pray the divine office, or if they're not able to read, they can fast and abstain from meat on Wednesdays and Saturdays in honor of Our Lady, that she promised that on the first Saturday after that person died, she would come and release them from the fires of purgatory, if for some reason they had to go to purgatory. Because in Latin, Saturday is Sabbata, which means Sabbatine. So it's the Saturday privilege that Our Lady wanted to give to those souls who wear the scapular. And so that was given to Pope John the 22nd. And to show the proof of that is that when St. John of the Cross was dying, who wore the scapular as a Carmelite faithfully, when he died, the bells of the monastery were ringing midnight of Saturday. Pope John Paul II wore the scapular faithfully, he says in his memoirs, from the age of 10. And when did he die? He died on the vigil of Divine Mercy Sunday, but it also happened to be the first Saturday of April. So he obviously must have kept those conditions in order to get the Sabbatine privilege. So there's some other added obligations to get that privilege of getting released from purgatory the first Saturday after your death. But they are two great graces which are associated with the scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. So encourage you to get enrolled in it, okay?
You are listening to the Rosary Hour podcast.
The enrollment of the scapular has its roots in it being clothed as a religious. We have a clothing ceremony. And since the scapular is a part of a religious order's habit, Our Lady said to St. Simon Stock, receive the habit of your order. Whosoever shall die wearing this habit shall not suffer the fires of hell. But that even goes back even previous to you might say, religious orders in the Catholic Church, is this whole notion of the fact that St. Elias, who was on Mount Carmel, was a prophet, a man of God, as he's referred to. And one of the signs of being a prophet was that he wore a specific type of garment that indicated that he was a prophet, that he held this office. And the sign that he had this office, the clothing was a hairy mantle, a mantle made from camel hair. And so if you remember the story when St. Elias was told that he needed to go and anoint Elisha or Eleuseus as his successor, what did he do to show that he was passing on his prophetic office? He threw his mantle over Elisha while he was out plowing in the field. And Elisha knew that something was taking place, that it wasn't like someone just threw their garment on him and said, hey, take this. He knew that he was receiving this prophetic office. So what did he do? He did something very dramatic. He took all the oxen and slew them and took the wood of the plows. He was like 12 yoke of oxen he was behind plowing the field. He slew them, and he and sacrificed them and made a big meal. He gave up his profession of being a farmer because he killed the thing that he used to make a living, and he burned up his plow to feed his relatives and the family, because that was his last celebration before he was going to go off and become a prophet of God. And then later on, he said, as they were he says, I pray that I get a double portion of your spirit. And Saint Elijah or Saint Elias said, well, you'll know that prayer is answered if you see me taken from you. And so at that point, when he was taken up in the fiery chariot, his mantle fell to Elisha or Eliseus, and before they went, Elijah struck the river Jordan, and they walked over on dry ground. When he came back, Elisha took his mantle, and he also struck the Jordan River, and he said, where is the God of Elijah? And the waters parted so he could walk across, to show that he had received the answer to his prayers. But it was manifested through this distinctive garment that he wore, which was the hairy mantle of the prophet. So this notion of wearing a distinctive garb, because religious in the New Testament are kind of like the successors of the prophets of the Old Testament. We all share in the prophetic nature of our prophecy, the prophetic office of Jesus Christ, who is priest, prophet, and king. So we all are prophets in one sense, but those who take it up in a really, you might say, even more exact following are the religious who take on the vows of poverty and chastity obedience. They're kind of like that witness, that prophetic office in the church today. And so the Carmelites had this, what Saint Simon Stock was concerned about was that the Carmelites were going to be disbanded. And so he turned to Our Lady and asked her, because they'd always known them to be the brothers of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mount Carmel, because of that great manifestation of the promise of the coming of the Mother of the Redeemer that he saw on Mount Carmel. And he passed that on through the school of prophets. That was 800 BC, before Christ came. These men on Mount Carmel were awaiting the coming of the Mother of the Redeemer and the Christ, who is the Messiah.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow who?
Moo!
I love it. Well done. Well done.
Asher, do you think we have time for the rosary?
Yeah, I think so.